Hello viewers, Super GT here. We have some good news. FIA seasons are back. It's been quite a while, a couple of weeks, but finally they've returned with a couple of changes, and the main change really is the fact that you can run the races over and over. So before you could only do each race once, so each nations or manufacturers can only do them once. This is the Nations Cup race around Interlagos. Here's me, 5th on the grid for my first attempt in this hideous looking NASCAR inspired livery with about 1 million sponsors. Okay, 5th on the grid, Interlagos, 13 laps. Let's see what we can do to kick off the brand new season. Now the strategy I was unsure about, but then again I thought, well, the fact that you can do the race over and over, you can kind of play around with the strategy. So if you get it wrong the first time, well, just do the race again and then get it right. So for this one, I've gone for the medium tyre to begin with. The two tyres available are the medium and the soft. So you have a choice of two, which is quite a normal thing now, or sometimes three. So I'm actually coming under assault from behind, and you can see the gap already to the guys ahead, dropping right off immediately, 1 or 2, probably 2 seconds there, dropping off of the guys ahead. But of course with the medium tyre, the tyre will slowly come towards me at the end of the stint. So coming up the main straight, the gap already rather large, 2 seconds actually now to 4th, which is, well, it's just huge after one lap. And the Frenchman from behind is going to be able to get past. Yes, he is, into turn 1. The German's going to try to follow him through as well. He comes through and he kind of turns across a little bit, and he kind of disrupts my momentum, and I take some avoiding action across the curb and keep the position. And actually he gets a 5-second penalty as a result of that. He's going to be absolutely livid. Right, into turn 1. This is lap number 7. So this guy here, I was actually in the lead temporarily. So these guys were part of that leading 4. So they got so far ahead, they pitted, and then they're coming back through now. So I'm going to have to pit at the end of this lap. There's actually one guy there just coming out of the pit lane. So he actually resumed ahead. So these are the other two people, 3rd and 4th there. So I'm going to go into the pit lane at the end of lap 7 for my stop. Going to go over to the soft tyre though, see if that can pay any better dividends. As we exit just into 10th position, can we keep the position from Doc Brown, going semi-defensive down the hill into Decido de Largo. And we're going to fly away here and try to recover some positions. So a couple of people just go back into the pit lane for a second stop, which wasn't too bad a strategy because the soft tyre did wear out after, let's say, 5 laps, and you're quite on the edge with it. And now coming up behind the Frenchman who we were fighting earlier. So the race really went away from me early, but then it came back to me quite late. So you see a lap 10 coming back past these guys who had a different strategy. Someone else going into the pit lane there. So I'm actually from 6th up into 4th. So that's a good return. I started 5th, and I was running 5th or running 6th for a long time. Eventually the race has come back to me, and now they're sitting in 4th. The top 3 though, are a long way away. At this point here, the leader is 15 seconds ahead. And at the end of the race, going to finish in 5th. So one guy did come back past quite easily, around about lap 11. So finishing 5th ultimately, which was, you know, a solid result, I suppose. 1,500 points, which is okay for me. I mean, that's normally what I'd roughly get. Still looking for that 2,000 point score. I've never got over 2,000. So we did a bit of studying of replays. So this is the guy in the lead who won the race, and you can see just how smooth he is. So he's driving the Atenza as well, so I've got no excuses. He's driving the same car as me. You can see just how much minimal drama there is, as he really just sort of glides through these turns. And this is 5 laps in, so this is, you know, these tyres are fairly worn by this point, but he's just really controlling that car really nicely. But as you can see here, we can enter the race again. So we're going to go back in and go for the Atenza. We've changed the paint job away from that hideous one. So we're in 6th place on that leaderboard there, would you believe? But then the game wants to crash, so I suppose being able to do the race over and over again is good in the sense that you can avoid the disappointment of sometimes entering and then having that blue screen problem. I forgot to reset the game after watching the replay, of course. And, well, at least now I suppose you can just do the next race instead. Still annoying, But here's my qualifying lap for this race as we come down towards Decido de Lago. Now, the big problem on this lap is the fact that I have some traffic in front, which hopefully we don't catch up with, but it looks like we will during, of course, the sort of infield twisty section, which is really where you don't want to meet them. Sometimes it's good to have someone in front of you, ideally someone pretty much as fast as you or a tiny bit slower, in the sense that they can kind of tow you down the straights. But of course around these kind of corners it's not really helping. So I will be being slowed down here slightly as we come round towards that block corner. Here it is, hitting the braking zone there. In we go. So he's actually going to tow me up this hill for a little bit here. We get into that slipstream. He hasn't had the best of exits, so get that slipstream. So it wouldn't have helped me too much. And I'm going to go to the inside. I think he's seen me, left me the room. And then over the line we go. The lap time's going to be good enough for second, 0.004 off of pole position at that point there. So very close, but ultimately at the end, once everyone had finished their laps, down to 5th. Not very far off, just a 10th off of pole. So really close, which is good to see. Let's see how this race goes. So we can go again. We know the strategy this time. We're going to go onto the soft tyre, which is what the winner of the previous race was on. We just kind of had to deal with the tyre wear. Just keep the car smooth. And obviously at the end of each stint it will get quite hairy at times when you've got no tyre life left. But you just really have to just drive as smoothly as possible. Sometimes it's not always about outright pace, it's about keeping it smooth and trying to get to the end as quick as possible, trying to manage everything you have. So okay, right behind Happy Meal, and he's in turn right behind the German, both in the Lexus. So again, another solid car. Up in the lead we've got the Volkswagen GTI and another Atenza. There's a bit of contact there. Big shunt from Happy Meal into the German. I'm going to go around the outside, go through the middle of the pair of them, into this turn, just keeping the outside line, running quite narrow. That's going to give us the inside line for the next turn, the left-hander. So we get the position, 2 position gain. That's a good start, up into third. So in the previous race, we had the big issue of going for the medium compound, which really just put us on the back foot immediately, and it's just never a good feeling having to defend so early in the race. Of course, the race does eventually come back to you, but it's never a good feeling at the start of the race, especially to be losing so many positions when everyone's so close to you. At this point here, on the front foot this time, on the soft tyre, attacking, gaining 2 positions really as a result of mistakes, but still. And you might have spotted that Happy Meal actually spun the car out on the exit of that final turn. I've heard him lighting up those rear tyres, spinning round, doing a 180 and ruining his own race. So now up into third, taking a fair portion of curb there. So I was kind of not used to the soft tyre at this point here. And so of course with the softer tyre you can brake later, you can turn in faster, you can turn tighter through the turn, but of course the tyre life is less, so you do have to manage that. You have to watch out for sort of trail braking. So you do trail braking into that turn there, kind of braking and turning in at the same time. You can save time, but it takes life out of the tyres. And then of course getting wheel spin, that kind of thing. So at this point here, as we begin the next lap, just looking at the battle ahead, yeah, there's 2 pixels up there somewhere. And actually that's a change for the lead. So the Atenza going up into first, so that's a good sign. I mean, the fact that they're fighting, might be able to gain on them at the beginning of lap 3. This is the beginning of lap 4 now, and actually that has proven to be the case. So pretty much the same gap to the Atenza, but then the Volkswagen here dropping backwards, and we're going to go up into second place. So we're just going to try to keep ahead of him, and hopefully he's going to tuck in and not fight too much, so we can begin hopefully to start reeling in the Polish driver up ahead in the lead. So he's got himself maybe a 1.5 second gap at this point here as we come back up the hill into the infield section. This is where time can easily be won and lost. Very difficult section to get right, and of course getting the traction on the way out, really important. It's just really important on this game to make sure you get your traction down smoothly without sliding the car too much, as Happy Meal found out on lap 1 by spinning out. Now, it's a familiar sight here, I suppose, 2 red cars at the front of a race. We've all seen that if you watched F1 in the early 2000s. But it's going to be the second car here, Rubens Barrichello, who's going to be catching up with Schumacher now. Or am I Schumacher? I don't know. So coming up onto the main straight. Actually, that gap's coming down. He's making a couple of mistakes I noted on that lap. Running a little bit wide, coming into Istaglock corner. So as we come up to the line to begin lap number 5, the gap sitting just below a second, 0.9 now. So definitely gaining a couple of attempts as we cross, and actually pulling away from the Volkswagen behind. So someone else you might want to note is the South African, in now into 4th position. Had a rather shoddy qualifying, but he's actually moving up the order now. So the second of the two TX3 cars we can see just behind us in the green and blue liveries. So coming down the Rita Aposta, this straight is called, into turn 4. And the gap's still sitting around a second. You can see they're just running 2 wheels onto the AstroTurf, and that really does slow you down. It's something I do like about this game, the fact that you have the curb, but then you have some AstroTurf the other side of it. And it kind of just draws the line there. If you go wide, your car just won't get as much traction. It slows you down. So you know where the line is, and you can't extend too much. It's a good thing, and you really do have to drive, to the limits as much as possible. You can't really just extend that. And you can see here that's obviously cost him a couple of attempts. It was over a second the gap just before we went into that turn, but now 0.6 or 0.5. So definitely within slipstream range now as we come up crucially to the main straight. So this is where I can hopefully tuck in right behind and possibly think about going for a move. Looking a bit scruffy on on the exit of the final turn there, but we are going to be firmly tucking to that slipstream. I'm definitely gaining now. The gap coming down. He's actually going to swing to the left, go into the pit lane. Quite an early stop at the end of lap 5. Either he's going onto the medium or he's going to do 2 stops, and that's going to be his first of 2. So coming into turn 1, I'm in position 1. So that's a good development here. So we've actually had a really good race so far, from 5th into 1st. Of course, we don't know what strategy the Polish driver is going to do, but that is going to be worked out eventually. At the end of lap 6, this is where the tyres really began to die out. You can see my front right tyre, look at the bottom left of the screen, that the red denotes how much death that tyre has experienced, and it's almost full. It's almost complete death. So we're going to have to pit here. And this is going to give us the tricky position of having to do 7 laps on the second stint, but it is typically better to go in and get the undercut. So we change the tyres over to a new fresh set of softs, and away we go. So the South African driver in the Volkswagen, the TX3 guy there, did follow us in. He's about a second behind. We actually come out in traffic, and you can see in the far distance going into the left-hander, that is the Polish driver. So he's actually gained so much time. That just shows you how much time you gain from an undercut. So you're on fresh tyres, the other people aren't on fresh tyres. You just gain a massive amount, and he's gained maybe 5 or so seconds. He's not even on the screen there as we looked up the hill. So we've got a bit of traffic to contend with here. So these guys haven't pitted, they're still on old tyres. They've gone up the inside of the VW and into the side of the German, which is a move I wasn't really trying to do, to be honest. I was just trying to cut the inside of the Volkswagen and just completely messed it up. So just trying to pick a way past, and at this point here, the Volkswagen driver behind is going to try to pick a way through, going to go for the cutback, and it hasn't quite worked out. So I'm misjudging this, given the fact that he's on slower tyres, and I'm not quite allowing for that. But coming through into the final turn, up the inside, he hasn't quite got the grip. So we get the position eventually, really made a hash of that lap, really not a good lap at all. Just absolutely making a mess. And you see just how close the pack is behind. I'm not sure how many of those have to pit. At least 2 of them have to go into the pit lane. But now we're under attack from the TX3 driver as we come up to cross the line. There he is, he's on our right hand side. So a poor lap, which has resulted in going to lose a position as we cross the line into the next lap. So he's up into second now, and well, that was not a tidy lap at all. A couple of mistakes, and ultimately it lended itself to this guy catching up and then managing to throw a pass. And so at this point here, 7.5 seconds off of the lead. It's quite amazing how much time we've lost within sort of 2 laps there, as the Polish driver really capitalised on the fresh tyres and being in free air. So we quite unluckily came out right behind those 2 guys, but that's sometimes the way it goes. So come out in traffic, lost further time, and I've lost the position as well. So not the best driving, and again, not good driving there. I go right in the back of TX3 Manth, and push him on a little bit, but we're going to just try to tuck in and perhaps try to work together now to try to gain back on the Polish driver. We don't know what we don't know what his strategy is at this point. All we can do really is just monitor that red number on the left hand side of the screen next to my name. So number 3, FOH Super GT, and then you've got the red number, so the gap to the leader. Is that going to be coming down? And of course, the main thing really, just try to stick into the slipstream with this guy, try to get pulled along. This time I am firmly in the slipstream, 3 tenths behind, but you see just how quick that Volkswagen is. The Atenza itself is a good car in a straight line, but it just shows you just how good the Volkswagen is. The fact that I'm not even really catching up that much in the slipstream, when normally I'd be flying past. So, into turn 1, gaining on the brakes. That is the really big strength of this car though. It's got amazing brakes. You can brake really late, and you see, scanning behind there, you see the gap to some of the players in the distance in 4th and beyond. So we've got a bit of a leeway at this point here. The main priority really just stick in the slipstream, try to get pulled along. Let's work together to try to gain on the Polish driver, and then let's fight at the end of the race. There's not much point in fighting at this point here. You're just going to be losing unnecessary time. So at the start of the lap we were about just over 7 seconds behind. Now it's down to 6.5, so we've gained over half a second at this point. So we are definitely gaining. We just wonder if we're going to run out of laps, or if he's going to go back in for another pit stop. So crucial details here, we don't know, as we wind down through this long left, which is a tricky corner. Sometimes short shifting up into 4th works to keep the car settled, which is what the guy was doing in the previous race. When I watched that replay, he was shifting really early up into 4th, keep the car settled. It's not as fast, but it's settled, and it's good for your tyre wear, and it's good for stability and consistency. So sometimes it's better to take that approach, and ultimately that guy did win, so it probably is the better approach. Now, the lead actually going into the pit lane there, so this now is the battle for the lead. So we crossed the line to begin the 10th lap, 4 laps left to go in the race, and we're firmly right into the slipstream now. So at this point I think it's a good time to try to go for the pass. So for those previous laps, just not trying to overtake him too much, just try to stick behind and work together to catch up. But now we don't really need to do that anymore. We can kind of shift the focus onto fighting. I've looked for the move. It's going to be a late one. There's no contact, thankfully. We just stick behind him. But that Volkswagen, it doesn't really seem to have many weaknesses. It's a very good car. It's a very good car on all fronts. It's a great all-rounder, and you can't really find too many weaknesses with it. So in good hands, it's going to be a hard car to beat. And you can see when I was in even 3 tenths behind, so I'm firmly in the slipstream, it was just almost impossible to get past it because it's just so quick in a line as well. So we're going to have to find a quirky way to get past, but that is not going to help our cause, as we just dip 2 wheels onto the onto the grass, and it's just going to slide us wide. And crucially now, the gap over a second to the leader, which obviously isn't good news, because now I'm not going to have the slipstream up the main straight. You can see that gap actually come slowly. It's going to slowly increase as we come down this straight. You see there just how big that gap is. And looking behind, in fact, barely see the 3rd place driver in the distance behind, 3.5 seconds behind. So I'm surrounded by TX3 drivers at this point. But this is lap number 12. You can see the gap to Manth did increase even more. So the battle for first kind of disappeared, unfortunately. But we do have something to do here, because we do still have the attention of the guys behind who were gaining. Now this car, I really struggled to keep the tyres in check. As we saw on lap 6, I was struggling, but now 7th lap of this stint, really struggling, and again the front right tyre is experiencing absolute death and misery. So even though they are 1.5 seconds behind or 1.3 seconds behind, that is not a huge gap given the circumstances with my tyre. So this is going to be quite an interesting final lap, and immediately it's already down to 1 second. They gained 3 tenths just on those corners alone down there. So this is going to get really close as we enter the final half of this lap, and the final lap at that. So going round into the SA corner, I don't even know what number, I think turn number 7, and you see the gap here, just how close it is. TX3 Manth, I think he's got it comfortably in the bag, but now this Polish driver's coming back, so he went for the 2 pit stop strategy, and it's almost worked completely out for him. because he's very close to actually gaining on the leader and winning the race. Maybe one more lap and he might have been there. So we're going to go side by side through the turn towards the final corner of the race, bumping doors, and through the apex of the turn we go. There's a tiny bit of contact and he's just going to lose control of the car and maybe go on the accelerator a little bit too early, and as a result I've been slowed down as well. As we come up towards the line, we have to go defensive here because I think the TX3 drive, there he is going to poke himself out to the left hand side and get the line and get the position of second. I'm going to finish third after all of that. So we had a really good shot at first, but well, we're going to have a post-mortem there because that was a very interesting situation there with the Polish driver as we had some contact. Let's have another look. As this is from his point of view this time. So into the final turn. So I'm on the inside, I'm on the left hand side. There is some contact, and then it's really weird because let's watch it again. He gets on the throttle. It does look like he kind of spins himself around a little bit, but it does look like I kind of helped him at the same time. It was a really tough one to decide, but I'd love to know your thoughts, whether you think this, am I a blatant rammer who should be banned, or was it kind of just a 50-50 racing incident? It kind of seemed like a weird one, and the fact that when we got back into the lobby he had quit immediately, it kind of suggested to me that he's gone already. I kind of thought that he blamed himself for that, because normally if someone was angry they would say something. But well, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think on that one. But that is it. The return of the FIA races. A couple of really good races there, and a good result there to get the third in the end. But thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video. I shall see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Listen.